To some people, the thought of a retro gamer playing modern games is like the thought of a vegetarian eating meat. Well, I know vegetarians who eat fish, and I know retro gamers who play modern games. To be a retro gamer, you don't have to exclusively play retro games. Yeah, I'm sure there probably are some out there, but for the most part, most retro gamers play modern games at least a little bit, even if it's not a lot. And that's not to say that retro gamers don't have their fair share of issues with modern gaming. Absolutely they do. But the thing is, you can still get some enjoyment out of something despite having your problems with it. For example, life. People have a lot of problems with life that they think are totally crappy. But yet, here we are still finding a way to enjoy lots of things, such as video games. Quick little story for you, and this story's about Jake. That's right, we're talking about good old Jake again, longtime viewer of the channel. So Jake loves retro video games, but doesn't really like modern video games a whole lot. That is, except for Doom 2016. So if Jake had just said, screw all these modern games, I'm not playing any of them, then Jake never would have played Doom 2016. And that would have been kind of sad, right? The thing is, I believe retro gamers are wired to make sure they don't miss anything they might have enjoyed. When it comes to older games, of course, they are trying to find the stuff that they did miss when they were younger that they're able to find now as older gamers. And then when it comes to modern games, they want to look even there too, just to make sure there's nothing they're missing that they might enjoy. And depending how much the particular retro gamer we're talking about hates modern gaming, it may be like straight up dumpster diving. Yeah, you may find a half-eaten corn on the cob or an old cat's litter box, but if you dig around long enough, you might just find something like Capcom's most recent Resident Evil 2. Hot diggity, that was a good game. Something else that I should bring up is a lot of times modern games have ties to the older games, and sometimes those ties to older games is that they are the older games. If you're looking at a compilation of older games, boom, there you go right there. Retro games on a modern console. For example, I have Rare Replay for Xbox One, and that's just a bunch of older games. There's also some modern games that incorporate some of the gaming sensibilities of older games. For example, I mentioned Doom 2016, and that's a game that is very much a throwback to how first-person shooters used to play. Heck, you don't even reload your gun in that game. And then, of course, there's indie games. Heck, indie games are often so influenced by older games that some people wonder if indie games even count as modern games. I often hear people say things like, gosh, I wish they made games like they used to. And for those people, I would say, check out indie games. That's about as close as you're gonna get, and a lot of those games are actually pretty well made. Then there are franchises from the past that you love, and there's more modern games that continue those franchises, and so you want to play those most recent games to see where the franchise is going. Now, in some cases, you might think, all right, screw this, I don't like it. For example, I know some people are huge fans of the 2D Metroid games, but don't really like the 3D Metroid games as much. Either way, the curiosity to try some of these games is there, and if you do end up trying the game and then end up liking it, yeah, you're gonna keep playing it. Okay, but now I want to go back to a time when retro video games weren't considered retro, they were just considered video games because they were current at the time. A lot of us back then, we would just play whatever the newest console was, and sure, some of them are older now, but back then, they were current, and we just kept getting the next console to come out, and then the next console to come out, and eventually we end up here today where we are now, playing modern games. At the heart of it all, we are fans of video games, and so it makes sense that we'd want to see where this form of media is going, even if part of where it's going makes us say, ugh. Plus, let's face it, we're addicted to consoles. We're always thinking about different consoles we could be playing. Even if it's more modern consoles. It kind of reminds me of when I would go trick-or-treating as a kid, and there'd be like that one super dark house with no lights on, and you were almost sure nobody was home, but still you thought, there might be somebody home and they could give some candy out. I never thought I would have had a reason to own an Xbox 360, and yet I found a reason. Shoot 'em ups, by the way. Plus, sometimes it can be nice just to have some contrast to all of the older games that we're playing. boring. For example, one complaint that I hear quite a bit about modern games is they feel too much like movies. But what if you feel like not watching a movie, but playing a movie? Well, modern games are going to take care of you there. I have wondered before, though, if because this channel is so pro retro games, if some of you feel borderline ashamed for playing modern games, and that's not what I want you to feel at all. And I'm guessing you probably don't, because based off the latest poll I did asking how many of you play modern games, it was overwhelming how many of you do. But with that being said, for this video's question, I want you to talk about a modern game that you actually really like. And this might be one of your few chances to do that on this channel, so take advantage of that. Oh, and by the way, if you see somebody talking about a game they like that you actually hate, be nice to them about it. Don't chop their head off. So with that, list your games down below, and I will see ya in the next video.
He's the retro bird, yeah. And he's talking about video games. He's